Monday, December the 12th, 2022. I have with me Councillor Lior Azarad, Councillor Andrew Schuster, Councillor Oren Sabag, Councillor Mitch Kajaski, Councillor Dita Burku, Councillor Stephen Early, Councillor Sydney Ben-Isri, Councillor Mike Cohen, and I have our city manager, Jonathan Schechter. And we have our city clerk, Florine. I have to learn how to pronounce her name. Abuginhu. I hope. I have to pronounce it well. Okay, so welcome, bienvenue tout le monde. As usual, we'll start off with a moment of silence and hope and prayer for all those who are suffering with COVID or any other illness for their speedy recovery. So it is coming up to the holiday season, and I'm starting to go to a lot of events. Like I'm sure a lot of you also are going to a lot of events and a lot of parties. So as someone who was trying, like everybody else, to do our best not to catch something, this is what I've done. 3 weeks ago, I got my flu vaccine. And on Monday, I got the Pfizer bivalent COVID vaccine, which supposedly helps with Omicron and all the variants to date. I wear my mask, except when I'm eating with other people, and hopefully I'm lucky enough not to be next to somebody who's sick. So those are the things that I do. Everybody has to do what they can do. But what I want to tell you is my mom called me up and said, you know, Mitch, I think it's like maybe 4 or 5 months since I got my vaccine. I'd like to go for another vaccine. Could you check and see if I'm due? And she was due. And I had my appointment on Friday at Takari Square. So I called and I said, do I need to make an appointment? They said, no, just drop by. So we arrived at 5 to 11 at the Takari Square Clinic. We walked in, she got taken first before me. It took minutes. You were in and out, no pain, quick, easy. Anybody who needs a vaccine, the Pfizer bivalent vaccine has now been given at Takari Square. You don't even need an appointment. Just show up, you're in and out of there in 20 minutes. Pretty amazing. I was really amazed. I think Councillor Schuster wants to add to that.
Yes, Mayor Brownstein, I believe that children aren't yet eligible for bivalent, and they do need an appointment for a booster, at least the last time I went, which was a few weeks ago.
That could be, but I did see a lot of children there. So they were there maybe for the flu vaccine, maybe for other COVID vaccines, but there were a lot of kids there too. So yeah, it's a great facility. I have to really congratulate the Takari Square staff and for setting that up. It's going really, really well. I'd also like to congratulate our Parks and Recreation Department for an excellent swim meet this weekend. I saw the pictures and I heard that it was a great success, and I was happy to see so many kids out having a good time. We are having 2 budget meetings coming up next week. We have one on Monday and one on Wednesday. The one on Monday is at I guess it's 6 o'clock. 6, and the other one's at 6:30 on the Wednesday. Yeah. Okay. So those are our budget meetings next week, and hopefully you will all be able to attend. So I think we'll go now into the question period. If we have any questions, do we have anybody? We have one here. Yay. Okay. All right. Wibki Shaid. Hope I pronounced your name right.
Yes.
Please come forward. Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor Brownstein and councillors. The United Nations COP15, the Convention CBD on Biological Diversity Conference of the Parties, is happening in Montreal now. It's the 15th meeting. It was created in 1992 in Rio de Janeiro to tackle biodiversity loss, to set global targets and monitor progress towards them. No one today can escape the bad news of extreme biodiversity loss in our world happening all over planet, our Earth. The United Nations Secretary General, Mr. Guterres, spoke in his address of ecosystems becoming playgrounds of profit, besides other strong words, he said. This is what touched me. The sad truth is that we have made a mess of our world, and we cannot pass the buck to our children to clean it up. I felt compelled to come to this meeting and urge the council members to take local action to preserve and restore biodiversity in our city of Côte Saint-Luc. My 4 suggestions would be a ban on gas-powered leaf blowers. Alternatives exist. Loss of biodiversity is sadly facilitated by bylaw 2472, the nuisance law. All council members are informed of the environmental damage done by this equipment, but no action has been taken as surrounding municipalities, for example, Montreal West, NDG, Westmount, and other North American cities have already done. Second, allowing for higher grass cuttings on all public properties. Ooh. I brought something to show you because it's very difficult to see what centimeters are and what inches are. So the curbing the heat retention in the middle of summer can be achieved by keeping grass longer than routinely mowed now. There is an impressive temperature difference of 20 degrees Celsius between a hot road surface and grass 15 centimeters long. And I just wanted to show you what 15 centimeters is. It's this length. And I wonder where we see this length, because usually grass in public spaces is mowed maybe 3 inches, whatever we see. That's why the lawns they die in the summer, they become heat islands, and the grass just dies off. So we just hope that we can keep the grass higher than 5 centimeters. The adding or restoring biodiversity to attract Montreal monarch butterflies as planned last year, that project seemed to have disappeared. And restoring biodiversity on the roadside leading to the Meadowbrook Golf Course. I don't see this happening, but for now the potholes have been filled. Thank you very much. So I hope that our community will commit even more to our share to improve biodiversity when and where we can. I wish happy holidays to everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we have taken certain steps with leaf blowers. We want to go in that direction. We do have a new bylaw, but I also have Councillor Erdely, and if you wish, Councillor Burku, because I know we have taken some steps, a letter that was recently written, and also Councillor Erdely to make some comments. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll speak to some of the points. First, with regard to leaf blowers, it's a valid point. We just adopted bylaw 2470, which banned leaf blowers during certain periods. Now, the truth is, would I prefer to ban them completely? Yes. But the feeling was we had to do it in steps. And the first step is to ban it during certain periods. But my hope is that within a few years, possibly a year or two, we will go to banning them altogether. But the reality is we felt we couldn't go to that step in one shot. But like I said, I hope to be there soon. In terms of the heat island effect, it is something we are well versed in and cognizant of. And that is part of the planning that's behind the redevelopment of our 3 malls that is going on. Right now, those are heat island centers. If we look at the heat island effect in Côte Saint-Luc, we see, of course, Cavendish Mall, Côte Saint-Luc Shopping Center, DeCarry Square. So that is something we're cognizant of, and hope, of course, with the redevelopment, we'll have more green roofs and such. In terms of allowing the grass to be cut only at 15 centimeters, it's very reasonable. It's something I think we'll definitely pass on to Public Works, but I believe they're already doing it to some extent. I don't want to say for sure, so I will follow up on that one. I'm putting myself a note. And in terms of the road, I would say the road to Meadowbrook, this is a tough one. We had a few issues there. We had some invasive species so buckthorn and others that were invasive that we had to deal with. We also had issues in terms of some of the bushes and trees that were threatening to fall on the road. We also had issues with Hydro-Quebec in terms of the power lines and cable and so on. So a lot had to be cut. The goal now is to restore it with biodiversity in mind. I know that our Public Works Department and a director, BB Newman, was working on a project. I have to admit, I don't think they're where they should be yet. But I will follow up on that one as well. And at this point, I mean, December, there's not much to be done. But I would say the goal is for the spring to make sure that that plan continues and is fully implemented. But I thank you for the feedback. I'll let Councilor
Councilor
Burku
Burku.
add as well.
Right.
Okay.
Okay, so. Thank you, Vicky, for coming to the meeting. First of all, I think you know that Côte Saint-Luc was the first city on the island to adopt the resolution in support of the Techno Park. If you don't, then I can tell you that in July, we were the first city of 25 cities and boroughs on the island of Montreal and of the agglomeration, and we adopted a resolution to protect this techno park and asked the federal government to intervene. And that resolution, as I just mentioned, was basically repeated by 25 other councils, including this Council of Montreal and the Council of the agglomeration. So we got that ball rolling. As far as the COP15 is concerned, last week we sent a letter to Mayor Plante declaring that we would also be a city that agrees with the 15 undertakings, which is called the Engagement de Montréal. And those undertakings basically look at 15 ways to promote and encourage, biodiversity, including all our climate change initiatives. And it's really part of the whole philosophy behind the master plan, as Stephen, as Councillor Lee has just mentioned. So I think we're going in the right direction with regard to that. And as far as the lawn mowers are concerned, yes, you're right. There are other cities, like I know the West Mountain NDG did more, but we did a first step. We also have to be in step with our population and our contractors, who are many of whom are residents of Côte Saint-Luc as well. So, it's a step-by-step process, but I do appreciate your requests. And I think we're trying our very best to go in that direction.
Thank you. We have another question, I believe, that could be read out. Thank you.
So we have a question from Norman Sabin. I drive often on Cavendish between Merton and Fleet and hit a lot of red lights at Fleet. In fact, I would say this happened at least 6 times out of 10. If you stood on Cavendish with a speed gun, you will see some serious speeding as drivers try to make the green at Fleet. And the idling at red light hurts the environment. Both intersections have the same cycle time, 80 seconds, and so they can be properly synchronized, but they are not. If I was the Côte Saint-Luc traffic engineer, here is what I would do. At Merton, I would give Cavendish 50 seconds of green time and Merton 30. At Fleet, I would give Cavendish North 40 seconds and the double left turn on Cavendish South 40 seconds. Morning rush at Fleet, I would do 35, 45. And given it takes about 25 seconds to drive safely from Merton to Fleet, I would synchronize as follows. Cavendish and Merton turns green, and 25 seconds later, Cavendish North at Fleet turn green. So when the bolus of cars from Merton arrives at Fleet, they will get a green that will last 40 seconds, 35 during morning rush. Of note, the single lane of Cavendish South at Fleet heading towards Merton, it's always green, except for pedestrian crossings. The pedestrian signal only activate during the double left turn and should not upset the synchronization between Merton and Fleet. Will it be possible to invite your traffic engineer to council to explain why traffic flow from Merton to Fleet is so poor. Failing this, can the chair of the traffic committee reply?
Thank you. So our traffic engineer, Spiro Yodis, has been advised of this question already, and I believe he's responded to you. If not, he certainly will be forthcoming. The information that I have is that we have hired consultants to deal with all the intersections that you speak of. They have not come up with a clear way to synchronize all the lights, which you are correct. But supposedly, from the information I have, they've improved the flow at each of the intersections and the safety. But more information will be forthcoming to you directly from Spiro Yodis, our traffic engineer, and I thank you for your question. It will be studied in detail. Est-ce qu'on a des autres questions? Do we have other questions virtually? Or
If anybody's watching on Zoom, a reminder, please press the raise hand button. We have a question from Bram Schuster. Bram will be the first to ask the question.
go ahead. I see you, but I don't hear you. I see you, Mr. Schuster.
Can you hear me?
Now I do.
Okay, I have a question for the Director of Public Safety. Is he there?
He's not in the room. He may be watching. I'm not sure.
Okay, then I guess I'll just email it to him then.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Okay, well, I'll ask it though. Well, there's someone who has the portfolio. So I'm just curious, the public safety officers, what responsibility they have in instituting and enforcing certain bylaws? Not saying that that fence is 6 inches too low or 6 inches too high, but obvious things like a tempo out of season or workers doing renovations on the weekend when no work is supposed to be done. Is that part of their responsibility?
Sure.
So if I may, I don't have a specific answer to Mr. Schuster's question, but I would say this. We have about 2,500 bylaws in Côte Saint-Luc. Depending on the bylaw, some bylaws are under the purview of public security. Some of them fall under urban planning. So I would say something detailed like that. If there's a specific issue, I think that's probably best.
Yeah, those two specific examples that I raised, because obviously urban planning is not working on the weekend, and people aren't supposed to be doing work on the weekend. So it would be a pretty obvious thing that if they're driving around and they see someone working, let's say, for example, for 2 days, do they say, do you have a special permit that allows you to work on the weekend, or they don't do anything? That's not part of it.
Sorry if I may
Anyway,
clarify.
it's not a debate. It's not a debate, but clearly, we're going to let, because Councillor Oren Sebag has the portfolio, we'll let him answer. But clearly, my response would be, of course, we have public safety officers that we hope and know all of our bylaws from, back to back, and that they're all right in the back of their mind, every single thing that they know, like the Bible. But that's not realistic. The main role of our public security officers is to ensure the safety of our city when they're driving the streets. I'll let Councillor Sebag answer.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Erdely, for trying to answer the question. And I do agree with you guys. There is a component to this that's related to public works and urban planning. However, what I would recommend to Mr. Schuster is, when you do see something that you feel needs to be addressed, our dispatch unit is open 24 hours a day, able to receive calls. There is no way that our public safety agents can be everywhere at all times. If they see something, they do report it. I can tell you, I've had some reports just this week of things that my kids did and left their basketball nets, and so I get a little letter saying, fix your basketball net and stuff like that. So in general, I can say that the patrols are done routinely. Can they be everywhere at all times looking at every single deficiency? That's a no. But I do recommend people call in if there's something that they want to address.
So, for example, so if someone's doing renovations on the weekend and they pass by, they will not stop and say, do you have a special permit to work on the weekend? That's what I'm asking.
But if I may clarify, generally, when people get a permit, you're allowed to work on the weekend. They're just restricted hours on the weekend. Yeah. So if I have a permit to do work in my house, the permit allows me to work 7 days a week. It's just there's certain times on the weekday versus times on the weekend. So the city of Côte Saint-Luc allows people to do work renovations on their homes, for example, during the weekend.
Okay,
Thank
I
you.
will.
Do we have any other questions? Okay, so we'll move to the next item on the agenda, which is approval of the minutes. Councillor Cohen.
Microphone up. I so move, Mr. Mayor, that the minutes from the regular meeting of November 14th, 2022 be approved.
Thank you. Seconded by Councillor Azarad. Any discussion? All in favor? Anyone opposed? We're carried unanimously. We move to the next item. Any business arising from the minutes? So with the departmental reports, Councillor Schuster.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The monthly reports submitted for November 2022 be and are hereby approved as drafted.
Thank you, Councillor Schuster, seconded by Councillor Cohen. Any discussion? Councillor Cohen.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. To begin with, we got a very good report from Director Janine West from the library. In early 2022, as everyone remembers, council approved the library's recommendation to change its computer system from Innovative Interspaces to Axel, a system that's been used by other demerged cities, including Westmount, Dorval, Kirkland, and DDO. Most of the past year has been spent getting ready for this big change. During the month of November, the library made its final preparations to migrate all the library data, including library members, library titles, checkouts, reservations, and more, which was set for the last week of November. And on December 1st, the library began using its new system, including its new website. So the next month or two will be spent working out all the small glitches while the library continues to implement new features. There's still a lot of work to be done. The implementation team consists of Janine West, our invaluable librarian who's been with us for about 40 years, Jennifer Eisman, Karen Morris, and Mairead Stevenson, who've all been working tirelessly to ensure this project's success. Karen and Mairead exceptionally have gone above and beyond, having to learn the ins and outs of a completely new system, and who have been responsible for setting up all of the back end, including the website. And the library's been very lucky to work with a great new vendor whose team has been exceptionally responsive to every question, query, and issue, and who led the library's team in this process every step of the way. So finally, it's important to also note that this change will save the city thousands of dollars in annual licensing costs. Specifically with our previous vendor, Innovative Interfaces, our annual costs were in the ballpark of $55,000 a year, and they will now be approximately $15,000 a year with some annual increase. So that's a really impressive move during a year when we're having financial challenges. Also, Mr. Mayor, I'd like people to go to my podcast. You could get it at mikecohen.ca, the direct link, where today I had a very interesting interview with our former member of the National Assembly, David Birnbaum, and David was very forthcoming on the Bill 96 controversy, which he wishes he could do over. But I think we have to remember that David served us for 8 years and did a lot of good work. And while he knows that he didn't make a lot of friends with Bill 96, he did a lot of good stuff, including for the city of Côte Saint-Luc. Our Toponymy Committee met and to review the submissions for the park, the name of the park at Marc Chagall. The names will be coming to council at probably a meeting in early January, and we'll be coming back to council with a recommendation. And at that point, we'll announce the name of the new park. Just want to mention that the local commerce committee has been busy again. Proud to chair that committee. We do our local merchant of the month, and when we say a merchant, it's any kind of business that's operating in Côte Saint-Luc. So Councillor Erdely was at the King David residence, where he presented them with the award for October, and he presented them most recently with that. There's a very nice write-up on our website in our local commerce section, and as well on my blog at mikecohen.ca. Councillor Ben Isri and I, and Councillor Sabag, who's been a very regular visitor to Lily's. It's a new kosher salad bar at the DeCarry Square, and it's just exceptional success. They opened up a couple of months ago and their business is booming. Councillor Sabag and Councillor Ben Isri are regulars there, and it's pretty hard to get a table. So they are our merchant of the month for November. And Councillor Sabag will be going to visit them to present them with their certificate, hopefully in the next coming days. Look forward to having more to present our December and January, and we certainly encourage the public to share with us any ideas they have for merchants who should be recognized. We did have a summer student last summer working with Daryl. We've got a nice directory, and I'm looking forward to doing some very innovative programming and in fact some brainstorming with our local merchants in 2023, and certainly have members of council involved. Yeah, I think that's it for now. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Cohen. Anyone else? Councillor Sabag.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll just piggyback onto the question from our resident. This month, we held a public safety training of all our officers in the use of force, but not necessarily what people think. It really is about the training, ensuring to understand the proper legal knowledge of when and how to use force. This was appreciated by all. I'm glad we had it in our new training center as well. One thing that I really appreciated was the Remembrance Day ceremony. That was absolutely marvelous. Just a lot of people attending. I want to thank the VCOPs. I want to thank EMS. I want to thank public safety and everybody involved in making this year's Remembrance Day ceremony a great success. So thank you to all. As usual, I like to give a little bit of statistics in terms of EMS. Almost 1,400 hours given this month, responded to 230 calls, and I gotta say, I'm happy to report my wife was in Boston recently, and I did 2 shifts in a row, not 1 call. So should be doing more shifts myself to make sure that that people stay healthy and safe. I'd like to mention 4 years of service to Thomas Lafleur and Veronica Sinchili, EMS members for about 4 years now. So kudos to them. And that's about it on my side. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Anyone else? Councillor Early.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll start on the finance side. To follow up on the mayor's comments earlier, we'll be presenting the budget next Monday night at 6 p.m. I'll just share that it's been a difficult time this year, as those residents that are watching at home or on Zoom. The agglomeration has passed on a huge increase, the largest increase we've seen in the agglomeration in at least 15 years, I would say, since the beginning of the agglomeration, practically. About 15%, especially when you factor in the fact that we should have gotten a decrease. We were expecting a decrease of about 5%. All that to say, it's going to be a tough one, but I just want to prepare residents. So that'll be next Monday at 6 p.m. We'll be presenting the budget, followed by the adoption of the tariffs on Wednesday at 6:30. In terms of some of the highlights, we've given out 308 water filter rebates. So these are rebates for people that have lead filters. And again, I encourage residents to purchase, if you live in a home, I should say, that was built in a time where lead may have been used for the service line. We encourage residents to use a filter that has the NSF either 53 or the other certifications that filters out lead. I use one in my own home just to be on the safe side. We've also had 47 EV home charger rebates as well. And again, the goal is, in terms of climate change and resiliency, to encourage more residents to purchase electric vehicles and have less fossil fuels being used in Côte Saint-Luc. In terms of transfer duties, now this is till the end of October. From what I'm aware, though, we've had a few more sales in the month of November and early December, but we were at $6.7 million for transfer duties. Our original budget was $4 million. Revised budget about 6.8. So we're almost at the revised budget, and we most likely will end up going beyond that as well. So all that to say, in spite of what's happening with interest rates and so on, people are still purchasing homes and purchasing apartment buildings and so on. In terms of unpaid taxes, this is one of the unpleasant parts of the job. We're down to 15 on the list. We hope that there'll be 0, as has been the case over the last 17 years. But right now 15, and I know our finance department, our legal department are reaching out to those residents that still have some unpaid taxes, and these are taxes that are 2 years old now. So we're hoping to have 0 by the time the tax sale occurs in February. To switch topics to VCOP, I want to thank our volunteers that are in the room and those that have served throughout the month. We had 46 shifts. We had many VCOPs participating in special events, VCOP volunteers. Many helped out with the Poppy campaign and our Remembrance Day. And it was a pleasure to see so many volunteers at our first meeting that we held in quite a while and at the recent holiday party. Switching to the environment, we received, and I'm looking at the number here, $328,000 grant from Receipt Quebec. It was the highest total that we received, and in a sign, of course, that we are continuing to step up our game, increase the amount of tonnages that are recycled, and we keep getting more grants, which is nice. And obviously, the goal is to continue encouraging residents to recycle and compost as much as possible. And a reminder for those, again, watching at home, that the new waste collection schedule comes into effect today. So some residents would have noticed, for many, their organic waste collection was today. For some, it is tomorrow. So if your organic waste didn't get collected today, that means most likely you're in a zone that is tomorrow. I encourage residents to download the app. I have the Collect Côte Saint-Luc app. I have it myself. We hope residents will do that and keep an eye to make sure you're aware of the new collection days. Councillor Cohn mentioned, but I'll just reiterate about, I was proud to present to King David with their Merchant of the Month certificate. Truthfully, I knew of the amazing things they did, but it was nice for me to sit down with them and hear more of the stories and speak to the staff and some of the residents. And it is a beautiful place. In terms of local items, just looking here, in terms of local items for Schwartz Park, the rink boards are up. However, it's December 12th and there's no snow on the ground. So this is the other side of climate change, that normally by now there'd be snow and possibly ice in the skating rink, but obviously there is none yet. I hope that we'll get a bit of a cold spell the next few weeks so that we can have some kids and adults skating in the rinks. But anyway, we can only hope. And finally, also on local and environmental, the first on-street charging station in Côte Saint-Luc opened on November 24th on Bailey, just across from Fletcher Park. I had the chance to go there that day and it was already full with cars charging. And this is sort of a pilot with 2 on-street chargers. Of course, we already had chargers at Côte Saint-Luc City Hall, at the ACC. We have at the at Public Works / Trudeau Park and EMS. But over the next few years, the goal is to have more for both staff and residents. And we hope, again, of course, more residents will switch to electric vehicles. We know it's not so simple to buy them right now, but we hope that more will come. And that's it for my report in terms of local and portfolio items.
Thank you,
Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Erdely. Anyone else? Councillor Schuster.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. For recreation, a few highlights and a few projections. Fall programming, including all art courses, fitness, sports, aquatics, came to a close in terms of the fall. Registration for winter session began as of December 6th for Côte Saint-Luc residents, and then other dates for Hampstead and elsewhere, with programming beginning in mid-January. As Mayor Brownstein mentioned, the Côte Saint-Luc Aquatics Invitational happened where at the ACC, where we played host this past weekend. I was present to watch some of the races and was privileged to give out medals to and meet the youth and volunteers and staff. That it's incredible to see all the volunteers that make these events happen. So bravo and bravo to all our swimmers. We're at a time where many people are turning to indoor recreation facilities while they're waiting for some of the outdoor features such as the skating rinks, as Councillor Erdely mentioned, and cross-country skiing and snowshoeing trails to be set up, which will hopefully happen when snowfall comes. And it's all, of course, weather dependent. But I'm pleased to say that work is currently being done to set up the annex ice surface. And I was told today that the new target date for opening is a week from today on December 19th. Recreation has winter activity schedule to keep families busy during the winter school break, including special animated events with Repti-Zoo, Bricks for Kids at the ACC, family drop-in for sports, teen drop-in basketball, as well as pickleball inside the gym, the arena and annex schedules for public skate, youth shinny, teen and adult shinny, and family hockey will all be published. And free swim and at the ACC, as well as two days of the Wee Bit obstacle course, which will happen on January 5th and 6th. All this will be publicized accordingly on our website and on our Facebook and Instagram. And I just want to thank the entire recreation team for their tireless work. There's a lot that goes into all our programming in terms of scheduling and quick action needed on the part of staff, partners, volunteers who all work together to help things work really, really well. And to create a fun atmosphere that's really great for mental health as well. As always, you can just keep tabs on all the activities, again, on our Facebook, Instagram, Loisirs CSL Recreation, if you haven't already joined up on those social media outlets. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Schuster. Councillor Kajowski.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And thank you, Councillor Schuster. I actually had the pleasure of signing up my youngest for his first swimming lessons, which we start in January, so it's very exciting. And as the amateur weather person on council, I have it on good authority that Friday night into Saturday, winter will arrive. I'll say nothing else in case I'm wrong. So I just wanted to quickly mention, I have had several constituents reach out recently asking about Kerwin Park and the status of the park and whether they're going to be able to walk through the park or use the pathways during the winter. So I'm waiting to hear back on engineering on whether or not that will be the case. But last I heard, the park would be open for the winter, not necessarily the chalet, but at least the pathways, and Public Works does have plans to clear the asphalt pathways so that people can walk through the park and use the park over the winter. And I also wanted to mention, I guess on behalf of Councillor Burko as well, we wrapped up our workshops for the master plan. And we had an incredible showing at the final, or the second to final workshop, I should say, for the Westminster corridor. We had, I think, 70 or 80 people show up. We ran out of chairs and out of tables, so it was really something to see. It was really an amazing brainstorming session. We created a vision for the Westminster corridor, so the entrance to Côte Saint-Luc at Westover, all the way up to the CP rail yards at the end past Mackle. It was really nice to see people sharing their ideas about what they envision Westminster becoming over the next number of years. So thank you to all the staff who worked on it. We have an incredible urban planning staff who ran the show, including Melanie Rothpan, Tanya Abramovich, and the rest of the urban planning team. So thank you to them. I don't know if you have anything to add, Dita, but no, it was really something to see, and I hope to continue this engagement with our residents in the coming year. Thank you,
Thank
Mr. Mayor.
you, Councillor Kajowski. Anyone else? Councillor Benizri.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just some highlights from our public work department. Just to mention, a good deed was done by our department on November 17. 20 Christmas trees were donated to St. Richard Parish to help family who are less fortunate, and to add a little holiday cheer into their homes. So I think it was very well received by the St. Richard Parish. Just to mention also that our team were very busy getting ready for the holidays, installation of Christmas trees around the city, installation of the menorah for Hanukkah, installation also of holiday lights on lamppost, and this is adding a very nice feeling, I can say, in the city. And also getting ready for the winter, preparing, the trucks and all the material needed. So I think this is, I just want to thank all our team, Public Works, for their work, and also wish them happy holidays and to all our citizens also. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Ben-Israel. Always nice giving out Christmas trees and seeing the beautiful lights. And soon we have our menorah lighting coming up next. Anyone else? Okay, so it's been moved and seconded. All in favor? Carried. It was moved by Councillor Schuster, seconded by Councillor Cohen. Now we move to the next item, which is item number 5A, a resolution from disbursements. Councillor Early.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Be it resolved that Côte Saint-Luc City Council approves the attached list of disbursements for the period of November 1st, 2022 to November 30th, 2022 for a total amount of $5,987,151.46 in Canadian funds. And that treasurer certificate number 22-0164 dated December 6th, 2022 has been issued by the city treasurer attesting to availability funds to cover the described expenses.
Moved by Councillor Early, seconded by Councillor Azarad. Any discussion?
So I'll just mention some of the highlights this month. So we have some road construction. We have some of the work in terms of the lead service lines. So for example, for the pneumatic excavation, also some of the work for Kerwin Park, which is ongoing, and for water pipes maintenance and repairs. Thank you.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor? Anyone opposed? Carried unanimously. We go to 5B. Councillor Early.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I hereby give notice of motion that bylaw 2600 to be entitled bylaw concerning tariffs for the city of Côte Saint-Luc for the fiscal year of 2023 will be presented at a later meeting for adoption. Furthermore, I'm mentioning the scope and object of the bylaw, and I'm tabling the draft bylaw 2600 concerning tariffs for the city of Côte Saint-Luc for the fiscal year 2023.
Thank you, Councillor Early. Noted. There's no seconder for that.
So if I may just give a brief highlight. So this is a notice of motion for a tariff bylaw. So this is a large all-encompassing bylaw. We started doing this a few years ago, where we make a bylaw that covers the tariffs, for example, for urban planning, for library, and for many other departments, and I should say Public Works as well. Most of them are pretty much indexed to inflation and so on. One that I should share that is an increase or slight change is for vehicles. So for a first vehicle, overnight parking permit stays the same, but if someone has a second or third or fourth, there's an additional cost of $5 per month for the vehicle. So again, the one vehicle, there's no extra charge, but this is for those that have a second, third, or fourth vehicle at the same address. Thank you.
Councillor Early. So now we'll move on to Human Resources, 6A, Councillor Burku. Promotion of a junior human resource advisor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Be it resolved that the Côte Saint-Luc City Council ratifies the promotion of Melina Muna to Junior Human Resources Advisor effective September 19th, 2022, and that the treasurer's certificate number 22-0162 dated November 30th, 2022 has been issued by the city treasurer attesting to the availability of funds to cover the above described expenses.
Moved by Councillor Burku, seconded by Councillor Mag. Any discussion?
Well, this is just the promotion to Junior Human Resource Advisor. We have three promotions that we're going to adopt tonight in the Human Resources Department. This is the first.
So it's been moved and seconded. All in favor? Okay, carried unanimously. We go to B, the next one. Councillor Burku.
So the next one is the promotion to a senior human resource advisor. So be it resolved, the Côte Saint-Luc Council ratifies the promotion of Eloise Lessard-Legault to senior human resource advisor effective September 19th, 2022. That treasurer's certificate number 22-0161 dated November 30th, 2022 has been issued by the city treasurer attesting to the availability of funds to cover the above described expenses.
Moved by Councillor Berkeley, seconded by Councillor Bag. Any discussion?
So same comment. We've now promoted someone to be the senior human resource advisor. We're bringing our human resources department up to speed.
So it's been moved and seconded. All in favor? Carried unanimously. We move to C. Councillor Berkeley.
The third resolution is to appoint that the city of Côte Saint-Luc ratifies the hiring of Alicia Lodico as a permanent human resources technician effective November 28th, 2022, and the treasurer certificate 22-0157 dated November 30th, 2022 has been issued by the city treasurer attesting to the availability of funds to cover the above described expenses.
Moved by Councillor Berkeley, seconded by Councillor Bag.
So
Any discussion?
yeah, so this is a human resources technician, which is a permanent white collar position effective end of November 2022.
Moved and seconded. All in favor? Carried unanimously, and we move to item D. Councillor Schuster.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Be it resolved that Côte Saint-Luc City Council approves the hiring of Olivia Wood as swim team coach effective October 24th, 2022. That treasurer's certificate number 22-0158 dated November 30th, 2022 has been issued by the city treasurer attesting to the availability of funds to cover the above described expenses.
Moved by Councillor Schuster, seconded by Councillor Kajewski. Okay, any discussion?
Just to comment that Olivia Wood comes to us with experience from Montreal West Pool, and we're happy to have her.
Excellent. All in favor? Carried unanimously, and we move to E. Councillor Schuster.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Oh, just one moment, I forgot. Change the page.
Another swim coach,
Okay.
triathlon.
Okay, be it resolved that Côte Saint-Luc City Council approves the hiring of Sean Lejeunesse as triathlon team coach effective November 12th, 2022. That treasurer's certificate number 22-0160 dated November 30th, 2022 has been issued by the city treasurer attesting to the availability of funds to cover the above described expenses.
Moved by Councillor Schuster, seconded by Councillor Kajewski. Any discussion?
Just Sean Lejeunesse comes to us with experience in physical education, athletic, and triathlon training from off island.
Moved and seconded. All in favor? Carried unanimously, and we move to F. Councillor Schuster.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Be it resolved that Côte Saint-Luc City Council approves the hiring of Shelby Lejeunesse as a triathlon team coach effective October 1st, 2022. That treasurer's certificate number 22-0159 dated November 30th, 2022 has been issued by the city treasurer attesting to the availability of funds to cover the above described expenses.
Moved by Councillor Schuster, seconded by Councillor Kajewski. All, any discussion? Another one?
No discussion.
All in favor? All in favor? Councillor Benizri, in favor? Yeah. Yeah. Carried unanimously, and now we move to the next one, Councillor Schuster.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Be it resolved that Côte Saint-Luc City Council approves the hiring of a replacement white-collar auxiliary employee whose name is listed on the document titled Auxiliary Employees White Collars Hiring dated December 6, 2022, and that said employee's terms of employment will be as per the conditions of the collective agreement. That treasurer's certificate number 22-0163 dated December 5th, 2022 has been issued by the city treasurer attesting to the availability of funds to cover the above described expenses.
Moved by Councillor Schuster, seconded by Councillor Kajewski. Any discussion?
This is just the hiring of a new lifeguard.
All in favor? Not only a new lifeguard, good lifeguard, we hope. Carried unanimously, and we go to the next item, which is again, Councillor Schuster. No, it's not the, all the white collars, or no, we just did that one? So now it's Counselor Sabag,
Is that 6H?
6H.
Perfect. Les membres du conseil suivant ont déposé ces déclarations d'intérêt pécuniaire à la séance de ce soir. Mitchell Brownstein, Lior Azerad.
No, it would be H. So this is the one resolution to call for two tenders at the UMQ. It's 6H, page
I'm on
321,
sorry.
321.
Wait a second.
6H. Page 321.
Yeah, that's the one. That's the one I was reading.
321?
Yeah, I was reading the.
No, that's
resolution.
323 you're reading. You're reading 323.
Okay, so hold on.
It's 2 pages. Just 2 pages ahead.
Yeah, that's the one I have. I have to read the whole thing? Okay, deux appels d'offres de l'UMQ?
Oui, ça, c'est le bon. That's the one. Just the
Okay.
resolution and exactly in that one.
Et résolu que la ville de Côte Saint-Luc confirme son adhésion à titre de membre à l'une des ou l'autre des mutuelles déterminées par l'UMQ. La ville de Côte Saint-Luc s'engage à compléter pour l'UMQ dans les délais fixés toute documentation nécessaire à son adhésion à l'une des mutuelles. Que la ville de Côte Saint-Luc confirme son adhésion à 2 regroupements de l'UMQ pour retenir les services professionnels de services financiers et de services de prévention et de la gestion de conflits de l'UMQ, le processus menant à l'adjudication des 2 contrats, que 2 contrats d'une durée de 3 ans avec 2 options de renouvellement annuel pourront être octroyés par l'UMQ selon les termes prévus au document d'appel d'offres et de la loi applicable, que la ville de Côte-Saint-Luc s'engage à respecter les termes et les conditions dédits contrat comme si elle avait contracté directement avec les adjudicataires à qui les contrats seront adjugés, que la ville de Côte-Saint-Luc s'engage à payer annuellement à l'UMQ les frais de gestion de 4 sous par $100 de masse salariale assurable à la CNESST pour sa participation à l'une des mutuelles de prévention.
Proposé par le conseiller Sebag et appuyé par le conseiller Ministry, je pense. Est-ce qu'il y a des discussions?
No.
Tout le monde en faveur? Everyone in favor? Carried unanimously. We move to legal services, 7A. Counselor Erdely.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Be it resolved that the council of the city of Côte Saint-Luc officially declare that such statements of pecuniary interest have been received from Mayor Brownstein, Councilors Lior Azerad, Sidney Ben-Ezri, Dita Burku, Mitch Kajavsky, Oren Sabag, and Andy Schuster, and instructs the city clerk to deposit same in the archives of the city, as well to send the official list of those who filed their declaration to the Minister of Municipal Affairs and Habitation.
Moved by Counselor Erdely, seconded by Counselor Schuster. Any discussion? Go
So
ahead.
I'll just mention briefly, this is a requirement for every counselor to do once a year. Myself and Counselor Cohn were acclaimed, so we presented ours in the previous meeting. So those counselors who were up for election are presenting them now, and we'll be doing this again in a year from now. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, moved and seconded. All in favor? Carried unanimously, and we move on to B. Counselor Ben-Ezri, 7B.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Est résolu que les anciennes sections de l'avenue King Edward, maintenant connues sous les numéros de lot 1-561-469 et 1-859-502 du cadastre du Québec soient par les présentes définitivement fermées comme avenue et retirées du domaine public.
Proposé par le conseiller Ben-Ezri, appuyé par le conseiller Azerad. Merci. Est-ce qu'il y a des discussions?
Non.
Tout le monde en faveur? Everyone in favor? Okay. Carried unanimously. We move to 8A. Councilor Ben-Ezri.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just getting my. Sorry. Est résolu que le conseil municipal de la ville de Côte Saint-Luc octroie par la présente un contrat d'1 an pour les services de conciergerie à Axia pour la période entre le 1er janvier 2023 et le 31 décembre 2023 pour un montant maximal de $286 434 et 63 cents. plus les taxes applicables selon les mêmes modalités que celles de l'appel d'offres C-18-14, qu'un certificat du trésorier sera émis en janvier 2023 pour attester de la disponibilité des fonds nécessaires pour couvrir les dépenses décrites ci-dessus, que la conseillère générale de la ville soit par les présentes autorisée à signer la lettre d'entente entre les parties établissant les modalités du contrat.
Proposé par le conseiller Benizri, appuyé par le conseiller Azarad. Est-ce qu'il y a des discussions?
Yes, this is to awarding of a contract for janitorial services for the year 2023.
All in favor? Carried unanimously, and we move on to B. Councillor Benizri.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Est résolu que le conseil municipal de la ville de Côte Saint-Luc, par la présente, octroie un contrat pour l'achat de fleurs annuelles pour l'année 2023 à les jardins WG Charlebois Incorporé pour une somme n'excédant pas 60 759,31 $ plus les taxes applicables, qu'un certificat du trésorier sera émis en début de l'année 2023 pour attester la disponibilité des fonds pour couvrir les dépenses décrites.
Proposé par le conseiller Benizri, appuyé par le conseiller Erdely. Est-ce qu'il y a des discussions?
Just to mention, this is to buy flowers for next year, for 2023.
Thank you. And the next one is C, and it's a notice of motion and tabling, so there's no seconder. Councillor Benizri.
All right, just lost my page. Oh, here I am. 89, sorry.
Correct. Page 3.
Okay, here I am. OK, alors ça, c'est un avis de motion. Règlement 2537-3 à être intitulé Règlement 2537-3, modifiant le règlement 2537, intitulé Règlement 2537 régissant la collecte et l'élimination des matières résiduelles afin de modifier les dispositions relatives à la collecte des déchets. Je donne un avis de motion que le règlement 2537-3 à être intitulé Règlement 2537-3, modifiant le règlement 2537 intitulé Règlement 2537 régissant la collecte et l'élimination des matières résiduelles afin de modifier les dispositions relatives à la collecte des déchets sera présenté à une réunion subséquente pour adoption.
Merci, conseiller.
Je pense que je dois encore juste déposer le projet. Alors, je dépose le projet de règlement 2537-3 intitulé Règlement 2537-3 modifiant le règlement 2537 intitulé Règlement 2537 régissant la collecte et l'élimination des matières résiduelles afin de modifier les dispositions relatives à la collecte des déchets.
Okay, any discussion? That's the new bylaw on our disposal of residual materials amendment. Anything else to add? Okay, good. Okay, so now we move on to 9A. Councillor Cohen, 9A.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I'm going to read the whole resolution so it makes more sense. Whereas the Federation CJ is currently implementing security measures in the city of Côte Saint-Luc, synagogues and schools as part of an altruistic mission to protect its residents from anti-Semitic hate crimes. Whereas as part of these security measures, CJA installed security boulders on lot number 2384922, which is city property, adjacent to congregation Beth Chabad's lot number 287-1970, whereas Beth Chabad does not oppose the installation of said boulders due to community safety considerations, whereas no formal encroachment agreement is deemed necessary by the city at this point, considering CJA's altruistic mission that the city wishes to encourage. I so move that Côte Saint-Luc, the city of Côte Saint-Luc council hereby authorizes the installation of security boulders by Federation CJA on city lot number 2384922 adjacent to Beth Chabad's property without any formal agreement.
Okay, thank you. Moved by Councillor Cohen, seconded by Councillor Azarad. Any discussion, Councillor Cohen?
Well, anyone who's driven by can see the boulders. They are omnipresent right now, but they are serving a purpose, and this is something that's being done community-wide. And of course, when you have the security from CJA, it is good. We see what's going on all over the world. And so any effort that's made to make our buildings and our religious institutions more safe, then I think we need to stand by it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And we as a city have reached out to Federation CJA to discuss further their suggestions and efforts to ensure the protection of all schools, religious institutions, and any other areas that they deem important to protect, and that we want to do it in the best way possible. So it's been moved and seconded. All in favor? Carried unanimously, and then we're going to move on to 10A, Councillor Erdl.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Be it resolved that the city of Côte Saint-Luc hereby awards a contract to La Brec Langlois Inc., Compteur d'eau du Québec, for the purchase of residential water meters in accordance with the tender, the terms of tender number C-14-22C, for a total amount of $179,488.71 plus applicable taxes. That furthermore, the city may consider an amount of 10% plus applicable taxes for any potential contingencies and extras, if required, that shall first be approved according to the city's procedures. That the described expenses shall be financed from loan bylaw 2583, previously approved by the Ministère des Affaires Municipales et de l'Habitation, and that Treasurer's Certificate number 22-0156 dated November 30th, 2022 has been issued by the city treasurer, attesting to the availability of funds to cover the described expenses.
Moved by Councillor Erdl, seconded by Councillor Azzarat. Any discussion?
So I'll explain briefly. This is something that came forward about a year ago in consultation with the agglomeration and in terms of provincial regulations. The city will be purchasing 380 water meters for residential properties. So this is a mix. Most of it is homes. So there's a mix of some houses with pools, some without pools, and some small apartment buildings or medium-sized apartment buildings with pools and those without as well. Now, the goal is to do this as a pilot project to get a better sense in terms of the water that is being used and possibly water being wasted. So the 380 addresses have been chosen randomly to give a good cross-section. The meters will be installed hopefully in 2023, but just because of delays that we've seen in other projects, probably 2023, 24, and possibly going to 2025. And I'll just mention that residents will not, so to be clear, residents will not be charged based on the meter consumption, at least not until every home has, but that will still take many years. But I would say the long-term goal is to give people a sense in terms of how much water they're using. I can share that in terms of hydrometers, which we've all had for, well, since before we were born. When you have a hydrometer and you're paying for electricity based on your consumption, people tend to be a bit more frugal in terms of not wasting electricity. The hope is once every home does have a water meter, people will tend to waste less water and be more conscious of how much water they're using. So all that to say, the plan is to begin the installation in 2023. I'm on the list myself, and I'll be getting a water meter and looking forward to it. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Erdl. So it's been moved and seconded. All in favor? Carried unanimously, and we move to urban development 11.11. Councillor Kajewski. 5850 Cavendish.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Be it resolved that the site planning and architectural integration program showing the replacement of two existing signs, Bonsoir, with two new signs, Voisin, one located on the building and one sign located on the freestanding sign on lot 5615459, prepared by Transworld, the Planning Advisory Committee meeting of November 15th, 2022, be approved according to the provisions of Chapter 14 of Bylaw 2217 of the City of Côte Saint-Luc.
Moved by Councillor Kajewski, seconded by Councillor Cohen. Any discussion? You can see the signs.
We're up on the screen. Yeah, so the sign on the bunny square at the corner of Nagel and Cavendish will be replaced by the Voisin. So I guess we welcome a new neighbor, although they are not a new neighbor, they are an old neighbor, but yeah,
New sign.
nice new sign.
Moved and seconded. All in favor? Carried unanimously. And now we move to 11.1.2. Councillor Kajewski.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
6700, 6730 Wallenberg, 3262.
All right, be it resolved that the site planning and architectural integration program showing the installation of a freestanding sign on common lots 3001495, 2767977, and 2615205, and prepared by Stanway Signs for the Planning Advisory Committee meeting of November 15th, 2022, be approved according to the provisions of Chapter 14 of Bylaw 2217 of the City of Côte Saint-Luc.
Moved by Councillor Gajowski, seconded by Councillor Schuster. Very nice sign. Any
Very nice
discussion?
sign. Yes, so, yeah, you can see it. So it's a sign on a private piece of land, really cool Chelsea. Yeah, very non-controversial.
Very nice.
We're all about the signs tonight.
Moved in second, all in favor? Carried unanimously, and we move to 5763 Blossom. Councillor Gajowski.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Be it resolved that the site planning and architectural integration program showing a front facade modification to a semi-detached single-family dwelling on lot 1051989 and prepared for the Planning Advisory Committee meeting of November 15th, 2022 be approved according to the provisions of Chapter 14 of Bylaw 2217 of the City of Côte Saint-Luc.
Moved by Councillor Gajowski, seconded by Councillor Azarad. Any discussion?
So this is pretty straightforward. Facade modification, change from brown to this dark gray color.
Moved and seconded, all in favor? Carried unanimously, and now we move to 5765 Blossom.
So the twin of the previous item. Be it resolved that the site planning and architectural integration program showing a front facade modification to a semi-detached single-family dwelling on lot 1051987 and prepared for the Planning Advisory Committee meeting of November 15th, 2022, be approved according to the provisions of Chapter 14 of Bylaw 2217 of the City of Côte Saint-Luc.
Moved by Councillor Gajowski, seconded by Councillor Azarad. Any discussion?
So this is identical to the previous item. This one actually was done first, and the previous one was done afterwards, as basically to mimic the color of the facade.
Moved and seconded, all in favor? Carried unanimously, and we move to minor exemptions, 5553 Alpine. Councillor Gajowski.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Be it resolved that in accordance with the provisions of bylaw G 18-0005, the request for a minor exemption regarding the property located at 5553 Alpine, lot 2090144, be and is hereby approved, the whole as more amply delineated hereunder. The request is to allow the construction of a balcony in the rear yard located at a minimum distance of 6 feet from the rear land line instead of the minimum required distance of 10 feet from the rear land line, and with a maximum encroachment of 12.8 feet into the minimum rear setback instead of the maximum permitted encroachment of 10 feet into the minimum rear setback. The whole notwithstanding the provisions of zoning bylaw number 2217 Annex B, Zone RU-2, Article 4-2-2, Table 1, and Article 4-4-3, and Article 4-4-5A.
Moved by Councillor Gajowski, seconded by Councillor Berku. Any discussion?
Yeah, so really this is just to accommodate the narrowness of the lots that we see on Alpine, Pinedale in particular. Many of the balconies were built a long time ago and continue to be built very close to the rear land line because of how narrow those lots are, I should say, not deep lots.
Thank you. Very nice extension that is being made. May they use it in good health. Moved and seconded, all in favor? Carried unanimously, and the next is 664 West Loop. Councillor Kajewski.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Be it resolved that in accordance with the provisions of bylaw G 18-0005, the request for a minor exemption regarding the property located at 664 West Loop, lot 1290465, be and is hereby approved, the whole as more amply delineated hereunder. The request is to allow gazebo to be located in the lateral yard instead of the rear yard, and to be located at a minimum distance of 4 inches from the lateral landline instead of the minimum required distance of 3 feet from the lateral landline when it is erected on the ground or on a patio. The whole notwithstanding the provisions of zoning bylaw number 2217, Articles 4-4-2 and 4-4-5F.
Moved by Councillor Kajewski, seconded by Councillor Erdely. Any discussion?
Yeah, so this is really just to legalize the location of a very small gazebo that has been there for some time.
Okay. Well, everybody's trying to use their backyards well, so it's been moved and seconded. All in favor? Carried unanimously, and we move to item 12, Councillor Sabat.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, that the council, be it resolved that the council take the following stance in view of any agglomeration council meetings to be held in January 2023 as follows: to authorize the mayor or his duly authorized replacement to make any decision he deems necessary and in the best interest of the city of Côte Saint-Luc and its residents regarding the items on the agenda of the agglomeration council meeting to be held in January 2023, based on the information to be presented during those meetings.
Moved by Councillor Sabat, seconded by Councillor Benizri. Any discussion? Carried all in favor? All in favor, all in favor. Now it's carried unanimously. And then we go to item 13, which is for our city clerk.
Correct. I would like to
Or-
hear,
Go
hereby,
ahead. Thank you.
my pleasure. I would like to hereby table a register entitled Public Register Disclosure Statements pursuant to bylaw 2579, entitled bylaw 2579, readopting a code of ethics and good conduct for the elected municipal officers of the city of Côte Saint-Luc. This, Mr. Mayor, is a legal obligation for the regular council meeting of December to table a copy of this register for any gift received over $200 from or to an elected official, and I can confirm that the register is empty, so there was no submissions.
Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Are there any second questions? No, anybody listening want to ask a question? Here's your chance. If not, I'll ask for a mover to close the meeting.
So moved.
Councillor Sabat, seconded by Councillor Gajowski, all in favor. We are adjourned. Thank you. Have a great evening.